Good morning, all of you. My name is Dr. Monica B, working as an assistant professor in the Department of ECE at SR University, Warangal. Today, I am going to explain about ethical and regulatory aspects in biomedical engineering. Now, the contents of the session are introduction, ethical considerations, regulatory aspects in biomedical engineering, FDA, Food and Drug Administration, ISO, International Standardization and Organization, and CE marking. So let us see the introduction about the ethical and regulatory aspects in the biomedical engineering. The development and implementation of biomedical engineering innovations come with a significant ethical and regulatory challenges. The importance of these ethical standards and regulatory frameworks is about ensuring the patient safety, accuracy, and equitable access to advanced medical technologies. Whenever we are giving a biomedical engineering innovative product into the medical field, then the importance of ethical standards and regulatory framework is also plays the equal importance in ensuring the safety, efficiency, and equitable access. Biomedical engineering integrates engineering principles with medical. So here it has a equal role for the engineering principles and the medical experts. So, and along with this, the biological sciences to develop the technologies for healthcare. Since these challenges directly impact the human life, ethical responsibilities and regulatory compliance are critical to ensure safety and effectiveness on the health of the patient. After that, ethical considerations. So, what are the ethical considerations we have to follow? First one is the fundamental ethical principles. Biomedical engineers follow core ethical principles which include first one, beneficence. See, the technology should improve the health of the patient and his health well-being. If we are introducing a new medical technique or innovation, then it has to compulsorily help for improving the patient health and also his well-being. Next one is the non-maleficence. Devices and systems must not cause harm to the patients. Actually, patient comes for the improvement of his health. Then if we are using a medical device which is again causing some kind of harm to the patient, then it is not acceptable. So we have to ensure that the device or the system should not harm the patient. Third one is autonomy. Patients must have the right to informed decision making. So before taking any decision, the patient must be informed. For example, the patient must know that he is going to undergo what surgery, what kind of side effects or limitations it have, and how much time he will take for discharge, and what is the time for next checkup, and etc. So all these information the patient must be informed, and with his consent only we have to proceed. And justice, last one is the justice. This is fair access to the biomedical technologies. What are the technologies we are using? We have to give access for the technologies without any discrimination. So these are the fundamental ethical principles. Next one, patient safety and risk management. So biomedical devices must be designed with minimum risk and maximum reliability. So risk factor we cannot completely avoid, but we have to minimize the risks in such a way that it is very negligible and acceptable by the patient. Second one is the engineers are responsible for identifying the hazards. and implementing the safety mechanisms. So what are the hazards associated and what are the safety measures we have to implement for that particular medical instrument should be taken care by the engineers. Next one, continuous monitoring and post-market surveillance are essential. Once the device is ready, we have to continuously monitor it when it is in use, and once the device is released into the market, after 1 week or 10 days or 15 days, we have to inquire about the usage and some kind of acknowledgement from the users and doctors or patients about the working condition of the new innovation. So these are the patient safety and risk management. Third one is the informed consent. Patient must be fully informed about the risks, benefits, and alternatives when participating in the clinical trials or using medical devices. So before giving him the treatment or before going to the surgery, patient must be informed about the risk associated with it or the benefits which are going to help his well-being and what are the alternatives available with that process. If instead of a surgery, some other alternative like that, what are the things available, patient must be informed, and he should be clearly informed about the purpose of the device and possible risks and alternative options. So engineers involved in clinical trials, trialing stage, at the trial stage must ensure the ethical approval for the sake of transparency. Next, privacy and data security. So in biomedical field, frequently we will collect the data from the patient. So this is the sensitive health data. And the protection measures like encryption, source storage are essential. Patient should have control over his own data, and we can maintain the patient data in the form of electronic health records. We can call it as EHR. Next, ensuring the cyber security of medical devices, preventing unauthorized data access. So these are the privacy and data security considerations. Fifth one, ethics in research and clinical trials. Even though experiments involve humans or animals, we must follow the ethical guidelines. Without the ethics, we cannot proceed or we cannot risk the life of the humans or also animals. So first one, fabrication, falsification, plagiarism in research are unethical. We should not step into any falsification or fabrication or plagiarism. It should not copy one's formula or one's procedure or one's prototype. And the documentation should also be perfect, and one must honestly report the results whenever it is mandatory in the ethics. So these are the ethical considerations in the field of biomedical engineering. Next, regulatory aspects. What are the regulatory aspects in the biomedical engineering? So, regulatory frameworks ensure that the products meet the safety, quality, and the performance standard. Its performance is up to the standards before reaching the patients. Once the device is undergoing some regulatory aspects, approval from the regulatory aspects, then a patient can be trust that the product is safe and its quality is better and it is performing up to the standards. So these are the regulatory aspects in the biomedical engineering. Purpose of regulations. First one, to protect the health and safety. Second one, standardize the medical device quality. And third one, ensure the ethical clinical practices. Fourth one, control marketing and post-market usage. So these are the purpose of regulations. We have to ensure the patient health and safety. Also, we have to ensure the ethical clinical practices and control marketing and post-market usage. Second one, what are the classes in which we can classify the medical devices? First one is a low risk, class 1. Low risk, thermometer, bandages, all these comes under the low risk. When we can use thermometer and test our temperature so many times within a one day. It does not cause any harm to the patient. Second one, moderate risk. For example, infusion pumps. So we'll use some infusion pumps. For example, our asthma patients will use the infusion pumps for the purpose of taking the medicine. That is, in one day we can use morning and evening 2 times. If you use mostly depend on that one, then it has its own side effects. So it comes under the moderate risk category. Third one is the high risk category. For example, pacemakers, implantables, all these comes under the high risk. This over a long period of usage will cause some other side effects to the body. So these come under the high risk category. So these are the three classifications of medical devices: low risk, high risk, moderate risk, and high risk. Higher risk devices require strictly regulatory approval. So before we are taking any pacemaker or implantable devices, then we have to ensure that whether it has undergone the regulatory aspects and it has passed the checks of the regulatory frameworks or not. Next one, first regulatory aspect is FDA, Food and Drug Administration. So biomedical instruments are directly involved in diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment of patients. Any malfunction in the device can directly impact the health and it can risk the life of the patient. Hence, regulatory standards are essential to ensure patient safety, device effectiveness, quality and reliability, and ethical and legal compliance of the patient. So, FDA is the authorizing governing medical devices, one of the most important regulatory committee. What is the role of the FDA? See, FDA protect the public health and it will regulate the medical devices, drugs, foods, and radiation emitting products, and it ensures whether they are safe, effective, and of high quality. A medical device, according to FDA, is an instrument or apparatus or machine or any implant or software which is intended for diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment or prevention. So, a medical device can be used for diagnosing the disease, monitoring the condition of the patient, or treatment of the patient, or prevention of any disease. All these categories can be served by a medical device. The examples are ECG machines, pacemakers, BP monitoring machines, infusion pumps, MRI, and CT scanners. Classification of medical devices by FDA. FDA classified the medical devices into three categories based on the risk level. First category, as discussed, low risk. So it is causes minimal potential harm to the patient and it is subject to general controls. Examples are stethoscope. With a stethoscope, we can check our heart rate any number of times. It will not cause any harm to the patient. Tongue dispressor, surgical gloves, and what are the regulatory aspects we have to check means they are manufactured from good practices and labeling is also required. Second one is the class 2, that is moderate risk. So it requires additional controls, somewhat risk when compared to the class 1, class 2 are risky. Example, ECG machine, X-ray, and infusion pumps. So we cannot repeatedly and take again and again. We will not prefer X-ray too many times. Means it will cause some other radiation will cause some impact on the health. So these will cause a moderate impact. We have to check whether they are according to the performance standards or not. Third one is the high risk. These are the life supporting or life sustaining devices. Okay, so pacemakers. Whenever your heartbeat is irregular, a pacemaker will insert the pulses and it will help in life sustaining and it will support the life of the human being. Implantables, artificial heart walls, all these must be achieved the pre-market approval and clinical trials and extensive testing. So FDA approval, which it need pre-market notification and means it has to substantially equivalent to an existing FDA approved device. Whenever you are giving a new device, that device should equivalent to an existing FDA approved device and pre-market approval. So for class 3 compulsory we need the pre-market approval for which clinical studies must be conducted. Safety and effectiveness of the data should be taken care. Detailed technical documentation must also be performed. Then only we can go for the FDA approval process. Next one, quality system regulation. It ensures the proper device design, controlled manufacturing process, test and validation, correction and prevention actions. What are the key elements in this are design controls, product controls, risk management, documentation and record keeping. So next one is the ISO, International Organizations for Standardization. ISO oversees the aspects of device standards other than those related to the electrotechnology. The purpose of ISO is to facilitate the international exchange of goods and services. It helps in developing the mutual cooperation in intellectual, scientific, technological, economic ability. And in addition, the agencies promulgate the regulation standards in the areas of electrical safety and biosafety, infection control, and etc. So, in thousands of applicable standards, clinical practice guidelines, laws, and regulations. ISO is an independent, non-governmental organization headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. Key functions of ISO. It develops the international standards, promotes the safety and quality, also facilitates the global trade and compatibility. It ensures the uniformity across the countries and role of ISO. It is for providing the guidelines, design and development of medical devices, quality management, risk management and safety, and the testing of requirements, performance requirements. All these are applicable throughout the entire life cycle of a biomedical instrumentation. So what are the important standard is ISO 1345 quality management for medical system. The purpose of this is to ensure a consistent design, development and production and servicing of the medical device. And requirements involve design control, risk management and documentation, and the applications are ECG machines, patient monitoring and imaging equipment, implantable devices. In ISO standardization, importance of ISO standards in biomedical instrumentation. To enhance the patient safety, to improve the product quality, to facilitate the international market access, and to ensure the legal and regulatory complaints, and also build the trust among the healthcare providers. And ISO standards help biomedical engineers to design devices that are globally acceptable. Once we are developing a device, then it should be globally acceptable and it should help the patient across the world in improving the health of the patient and improving the security, safety, and reduce the risk of the patient. So, conformite European marking. This is also called as a CE marking. Biomedical instruments directly affect the patient health and safety that we all know. To ensure that a device marketed in Europe must meet the safety, health, and performance requirements, regulatory standards are being enforced. So, one of the most important regulatory requirements in the European countries is called as a CE marking, conformite European marking. CE marking indicates that a medical device is complies with the European Union regulations, means it is following, means the device is getting the CE marking, means it indicates that it is complies with the CE European Union regulations and it meets the essential safety and performance requirements. Whatever the performance requirements are there, it, it is it is meeting all the performance requirements and it is following all the European regulations and it can be legally marketed in the European economic area. Under the European countries economic geographical areas, it can be legally marketed under the economic area. So CE marking is mandatory for selling any medical device in the European countries. Once the device is obtaining the CE marking, then that device is acceptable and it is ready for legally marketing in the European countries. So CE marking and devices. CE marking for medical devices is governed by the EU under the medical device regulations. It applies for diagnostic equipment which is used to diagnose the condition of the patient and monitoring devices like pulse oximeter, etc. Therapeutic instruments like inhalers. So all these kinds of diagnostic equipment like MRI scan and CT scan. So all these kind of devices can be obtain the CE marking. Next, the implantable and software-based devices are also eligible for the conformite European marking. So, classification of medical devices under the CE marking. How to classify the devices for CE marking? Medical devices are classified again on the based on the risk level and duration of use. How much risk a patient is facing if he is using the device and what is the duration he is being used. Based on this, the devices are classified. First one is the class 1. It is a low risk category. So all the non-invasive devices, invasiveness is the degree of contact with the human body. So non-invasive, the medical device will not get physical contact with the or pierce into the human body are called as non-invasive devices. Examples, surgical instruments, wheelchairs, bandages, all these. So all these come under the class category or classification 1, that is class 1 low risk category. So for this the approval is self certification by the manufacturer. Class 2. Class 2 is again two types, class 2A and class 2B. So class 2A is called as a medium risk category. So this is the medium risk category. Short term invasiveness means to some period of time it is physical contact with the body. For example, infusion pumps. Some for 2 to 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 1 minute, that inhaler will be inside the mouth of the patient, means it is inside the body. short-term invasive, and ultrasound scanners. All these are categorized as medium risk and class 2A. So these needs approval like requires assessment by a notified body, not only from the manufacturer, but it requires assessment by the notified body. Next, second category B is the higher risk. Long-term or high-risk devices. For example, ventilators and dialysis machines. These are in contact with the patient for a longer duration. So these come under the higher risk category, class 2B. These needs approval from the notified body assessment, and that is mandatory before using. We should check whether it has the notified body assessment or not before selling in the European countries. Next, class 3, highest risk. The devices which have highest risk will come under the class 3 category. For example, implantables and life supporting devices. Examples, pacemakers and heart valves. These help as life supporting devices, and these are implanted inside the human body, and they will be with us up to the lifetime or until the curing of the disease. So these come under the highest risk because they may have some side effects when we are implanting certain kind of medical devices inside the human body. So which need strict conformity assessment and clinical evaluation before it has to undergo the clinical trials and evaluation before getting the approval from the CE marking. So totally 3 categories: class 1 low risk, class 2A medium risk, class 2B higher risk, and class 3 highest risk. So the essential requirements to obtain the CE marking is that it must satisfy safety and prominence requirements, first one, and it must follow the risk management, that is ISO 14971 standard, and it has to follow the electrical safety IEC 60601 standard, and biocompatibility ISO 10993 standard, and clinical evaluation and validation, proper labeling and instructions for usage, conformity assessment procedure. The steps involved in CE marking are device classification, risk analysis and testing, clinical evaluation, technical documented preparation, conformity assessment by the notified body, and a declaration and consent affixing the CE mark. All these are the steps involved in obtaining the CE marking for a medical device, so that once we are obtaining the CE marking, the medical device can be used and can be marketed legally in the European area or European countries. So what are the notified bodies? What is the role of the notified bodies? A notified body is nothing but an organization designated by EU to assess conformity. Its responsibilities are to review the technical files, conduct audits, evaluate clinical data, and grant CE certification. It does not require for class 1 devices. Post-market surveillance. After CE marking, the manufacturers must check monitor the device performance, report adverse effects if it is not working properly, and conduct the follow-up, post-market follow-up. And if there is any problem, they have to implement the corrective actions. And this ensures the safety and compliance for the improvement of risk of life of the patient. So this importance is ensure the patient safety, legal requirements for European markets, facilitates the international trading opportunity, and it builds the confidence among the healthcare professionals. Once their device is undergoing the regulatory checkups and obtaining the certificate marking, then it will improve the confidence of the professionals, and also it encourage the high quality medical device design. So this is the importance of the CE marking. It mainly ensures the safety, and also it facilitates the trade opportunity among the international globe wide, and also it builds the confidence and encourage the new device designs. Thank you.